Welcome back. How are you guys doing?
Oh, good. How are you guys doing?
Annoyed?
Yeah, I can tell.
A lot of frustrations, a lot of emotions. Welcome to being a hockey fan for pretty much any team at the 1/4 mark of the regular season.
Yeah, unless you're a Vegas fan, they're doing okay.
For Colorado, I think they lost once, right?
Yeah. It's funny. All the Colorado guys are starting to razz me now. I don't know where they came from, but all of a sudden they're appearing from left, right, and center.
All of a sudden, there's Colorado Avalanche fans.
Yeah.
You know, I was joking around, but I think seriously, this is still our best start in like 3 years. So
I don't know. This one win and one loss, one win, one loss, and one decent game, one terrible game. The usual suspects. It's become not just a this season thing. It's like every season thing over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's just got to stop. And it starts right from the top. I know McDavid's like at the top of the leaders and all of that jazz, but like I said in the previous podcast, I'm also keeping an eye on the giveaways he's also giving away, like last game. you know, I don't know. It's got to stop at some place. I don't know what the solution is, but like everybody's saying, there's no help coming. There's nobody else coming. We just got Nugent, and that's it, right?
You know, Brendan, before you jam in here, I know you've been holding a lot of stuff in. This morning I just shared a stat that was off of Twitter. We need a producer, honestly, because it'd be great to like pop this up on the well, first of all, we need some viewers. Once we get some viewers, then we'll get a producer. But Brendan, are you able to pull that up? I don't have it handy, but the text I sent you about the when McDavid and Draisaitl are not on the ice, what the expected goals differences are, or whatever, or the shot shares.
I'm not going to be able to pull it up on the screen, but I'll take a look at it on my phone here. And
I actually just found it. I got it. I can't pull it up on the screen either because it's on my phone. But
it's saying net goal share 23%. So goals for 9 and goals against 30. So that's what that's.
Yeah. So in 2016, 2017, we actually were 51%. So 71 goals for. This was a whole season, obviously, right? 71 goals for, 69 against when they were not on the ice.
When Connor and Leon aren't on the ice, yeah.
When Connor and Leon were not on the ice. So last year it was it was 66 for, 88 against, so it was 43%. 23-24 was 49%, 65 for, 68 against. But yeah, this year so far, 20 games in. Are we 20 games in? Or 21?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. 20 or 21, right?
Yeah.
9 for, 30 against. 23%.
So let's look at the big headline, what the stats can tell us. The Oilers as a team are pretty terrible at 5-on-5 hockey. They're pretty good at power plays, and the penalty kill has been decent. But most of a hockey game is played at 5-on-5, and they are struggling. And that 50, 52, 54 minutes a game that are being played at 5-on-5, they're getting worked during that 5-on-5 play. Sometimes McDavid and Draisaitl do okay in 5-on-5. But mostly they're shining on the power play. So when it's a 5-on-5 situation, just don't expect anything good to come from the Edmonton Oilers. That's pretty much the summary of what the stats are telling us.
So far, right?
Well, what is it? Is it fatigue? What could it be? I mean, this team can switch it on and off, but I just don't understand. Like I said, this is a professional hockey league. It's not like the guys, like, we're going out after a long day's work and, I'm tired. I'm just not feeling it tonight. I'm just going to play a crap. This is like a regular occurrence for these guys. This is what they do professionally, and they show up some nights, and they're not showing up a lot of nights. And it's pissing off not just the fans. I think even the media is like really biting its tongue from time to time. And last night, the Buffalo guy couldn't help it. He took a zinger at our team and at the goaltending situation. I don't know if you guys saw the Rob Ray comment, like, it's been empty most of the night because one of the commentators like that they've got the empty net, and he's like, well, then that's been empty most of the night anyway, so I don't know what the difference is. Like, this is we're becoming a laughing stock of the league, and it's a Buffalo guy of all teams that's making fun of our team, which is even worse. It hurts even more.
If I'm not mistaken, that was Rob Ray. And
Rob Ray.
I mean, you can always count on him for a soundbite. I'm not gonna put too much into that. Although, I mean, we've probably said worse, right?
Yeah, rightfully so.
Well, no, about Stuart Skinner, and I mean, Picard hasn't been that great this year. Our goaltending, we've probably said worse.
Yeah.
Brendan, I know you're itching to get in here. You know, we've still got close to an hour, so you want to just jump right in, and where are we starting?
I think we just need to talk about the composition and makeup of this team, right? Are they a team that can win in the regular season? We know that this group at the top end can definitely show up in the playoffs, but they're not even going to make the playoffs unless they can figure out how to win hockey games in the next couple of months. So right now, there's a lot of teams ahead of them. Luckily, they're only ahead by 2 or 4 points or 6 points. But just passing all those teams and grabbing one of those top 3 spots in the division is going to be a fight. And they're just coming to that fight completely under-equipped and underprepared. So if you're scrapping 1 or 2 teams and you lose, you might get some luck on the out-of-town scoreboard. When you're scrapping with 5 or 6 teams for a couple of spots, if you lose, you're guaranteed to have teams get further away from you, right? There's just too many other games happening out of town that you're going to lose that distance. So the pressure's on every single night, which means that if they play kind of like this, or even like this, but a little bit better for the next 60 games, it's going to be pretty tough in April watching Oilers hockey because they're going to need every one of those games to go well. You might as well try to get some points now. It'd be nice if they go on one of their December or January 16-game winning streaks, but they show no sign of doing that right now. And there's just no enthusiasm. There's no enthusiasm in the defensive end or in the offensive end to go get the puck and take it to the net unless your name's Jack Roslovic. That's the only player I'm seeing who's moving his feet, who really wants to get the puck and get it done. McDavid, okay, I'll say not just Roslovic. McDavid shows it in flashes, and usually when he gets angry. That's not his default setting. That's his, I'm frustrated and angry setting, and then I'll take it to the net. And Draisaitl can get that way too. So I'm not especially upset with Roslovic, Draisaitl, or McDavid. I think those 3 are probably fine. RNH, when he's been healthy, has been acceptable. And then, if you have a forward position on the Edmonton Oilers and you're not one of those 4 guys, you need to get it together fast. Because I'm looking up and down that entire roster and I'm just seeing just the tiniest numbers between about a dozen forwards. Like, these players have 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 points through 20 games. These are numbers that my 6-year-old child can definitely count to, right?
Yeah.
Like, she can read off the entire Oilers stats line because these are just nice 1 and 2 digit numbers. And it shouldn't be that way 20 games in the season.
And the part that really bothers me is that McDavid came out and said that the first time they went to the finals, the difference really for him supposedly came down to home ice advantage. And here you are just shitting it right away again. I mean, even if you make the playoffs at this point and you're going to push for it, even with a nice long winning streak, you can pretty much kiss goodbye home ice against somebody like Colorado or Vegas. These are the teams that you need home ice against because you've shown in the past that they can have their way with you. And that's basically what's being lost right now, if nothing else. And that should be a concern for these guys too.
Yeah, we're getting pretty tired of playing Los Angeles in the first round as fans. But at this rate, they're going to have to play Colorado in the first round because they're going to grab that second wild card spot. That'll be the matchup that they're gunning towards right now based on the way they're playing, if they get in. So that'll be a nightmare scenario. It'd be great for Colorado because they don't have to get dethroned by Dallas or Winnipeg in the first round. That'll seem like a nice break for them. But it just seems like a really disjointed season. There's just no trend towards the positive. There's a win, there's a loss, there's a win, there's a loss. You know who this team really, really reminds me of is watching the Canucks for the last 5 or 6 years. You've seen enough Canucks games. This is how they play all the time. I've listened to their commentators. I've listened to the Vancouver media, and it's always the same thing. Like, well, we got a good win last game, but then we lost, 2 games ago. But then we have a good, easy opponent tonight, which will win. But then tomorrow night we got to play somebody hard, and we're going to lose. And it just goes like that throughout the entire season. And it feels like the Oilers are living the Vancouver Canucks experience right now. What usually happens to the Canucks is they fall short by 6 or 8 points by the end of the year.
Liam, what do you have?
You know what I find the most concerning? So when they went on that run in 23-24 when Woodcroft got fired, it took Woodcroft getting fired, and then it took, I think even after he got fired, they struggled a little bit, right, out of the gates. Last year, both of the seasons, we didn't really see, they were disjointed. They were we didn't see them being able to roll off the run that they needed to get into in order to get into the playoffs, right? And then in even last year, I mean, it took up until basically game 3 against the LA Kings for them to wake up. And I mean, which is that the one that went to overtime, or was the game after that the one that went to overtime?
And it was the one after.
The one after that. I mean, they were down 3. They were like seconds away from being down 3-1 in that series. And then it took them that much to wake up. That's what's really scary for me is, they just got blown out 9-1 by Colorado.
Oh, no.
And did they come out and dominate wire to wire against Columbus 2 nights later? No, they didn't. And I mean, it took a McDavid putting his team on the back 2-goal performance and a fluke. They're down. They're shorthanded with like 2 minutes to go. A fluke Jake Wallman. I don't even know what that was, but it took that to, and then everybody said Stuart Skinner made a great save in overtime. I think it was a decent save, but I feel like the player kind of helped him, because if he shot it anywhere else, it was probably going in. He overplayed that, and we were that close from losing. And then we went into Philly 2 nights later. We had a pretty dominating performance overall. We just couldn't score. We played pretty good, and Vladar, who seems to have our number, like most backups do, held them in it. But then again, we were a video coach review away from losing that game in regulation, right? So when is this team going to get mad, and when is this team going to have passion? The other part that I found concerning, and I heard this on the Cult of Hockey, David Staples was talking about this last night. There's been, I guess if you have subscribed to Sportsnet Plus or something, you see the behind the scenes look, in between periods and whatnot. Apparently Knobloch, who's normally pretty tame, has lost his cool and blown his top off 2 or 3 times already in the season. He's went on tirades. And I mean, what's the common theme? What's the shelf life of a coach during this McDavid Draisaitl era? 2 years, 2.5 years?
That's like, I mean, that can't do it. I mean, these guys, honestly, I don't want to think that way, but if it's really that, they become tired of a coach, how long are they going to keep on going? I mean, I'm glad you brought this topic over to the coaching. I think the one thing that they had was a little bit of maybe fear aspect or respect aspect, whatever it was Paul Coffey. And now that he's not there, this defense looks like they're the worst in the NHL. They look like an AHL, most nights, they look like an AHL defensive group. I don't know.
they definitely don't look like the best D in the NHL, like whatever that.
How do you forget from playing how you played last year to this year? How do you forget your positioning? How do you forget that you got to get the guy out of the front of the net and push him away? How do you forget all these basic things?
Maybe they're on to the Dallas Eakins swarm tactics that don't come naturally, that they have to rethink about what their positioning is.
Honestly, it comes down to this. A couple of days ago, I shared this. Maurice, is that his name? Maurice Schreider or whatever, the guy from the Detroit. He was going up against Connor Bedard, and the battle that they had to try to get space in front of the net. We haven't seen that passion from any of our D-men.
No,
all year. The guys that are getting paid for that, Ekholm, Nurse. I said this to Brendan the other night. We're not seeing that. Darnell Nurse. I mean, Staples was like, we need to start benching people, and I think like Nurse should be benched and Frederick should be benched, and they should bring in like Emerson. I thought Regula was probably one of our best defensemen last night. That wasn't really saying much, but that's, I mean, Brendan, you hit this on the nail in your tirade earlier, where we're just not seeing passion. And I mean, a lot of this is like pride and heart. Where's your heart? Like when a guy's in front of the net and he's beating you to the puck and you're sitting there smiling or have no emotion. I mean, you've been to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row and you've lost. You're telling me you can't get up for these games? That alone should motivate you, right?
I feel like they're playing as though they're a really good team, right? That we don't have to fight and scrap for everything that's come our way. Like, if you watch the Montreal Canadiens play, are they the most talented team in the league? No, but they scrap, and they have for the last few years. The same way that you see the Ottawa Senators play, not the most talented, but throughout their lineup, they're going to push and push for every one of their chances. And
well, I mean,
And it comes with played up like 100+ games the last couple of years and going deep to the finals. They all have this self-belief, like it's just a regular season game. We can definitely beat Philadelphia on Tuesday night. Let's just let Connor and Leon do the work and we'll be fine. But it's not going to plan most nights. And you can see that the pressure is just building and building, and it's gonna snap at some point here. They're gonna get on either a 3 or 4 game losing streak, and it all falls off the rails, and their season's pretty much done at that point. Or they sort it out and they go on a 3 or 4 game winning streak, and the way the standings are right now, suddenly you're going to be, right there with the division leaders again. So
I don't like that though, right? Like, we go back 20 years, we didn't really have the high end talent like those late 90 teams and the early 2000s teams. The one thing you could guarantee, like a Craig McTavish team, coach team, is they're going to show up and they're going to do the little things. They're going to block shots and they're going to battle, right?
It also guaranteed Husky was going to get hit really hard in the open ice somehow. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
You could guarantee that teams.
I mean, we had an identity, and I think that we've talked about this a few times. What is this team's identity? We don't really have an identity, right?
I guess the identity last year was a few players playing for contracts. Like this year, Roslovic is playing on a contract year and is producing. Everybody else, they have nothing to lose. They've got their contract secured. All of a sudden, Wallman's turned into a pumpkin. He was playing great, Bouchard and Nurse are being Bouchard and Nurse as they always have been. But we don't really have anybody in a situation where they have to fight for a contract. And the way the coaching has been, where nobody's getting benched, really, there's so much security. Nobody's going to get benched. None of these guys are going to, like you said, right?
Let's deep into that a little bit, the coaching thing, right? There's a couple things I've noticed. They are very quick to shuffle the lines that apparently, you put together, you go to practice together and you don't see anything going on offensively. But on the defense, they're extremely slow to adjust. Nurse and Wallman, for instance, have not been working. Nurse and Regula had some shifts where they looked all right? Let's like Nurse. I think Wallman on the right side, his numbers are atrocious. He's given up chances. He's not. So why are we not mixing it up there? And why are we, all of a sudden, if Matthew Savoy comes on the top line and they don't get a goal 5 minutes in, why are we juggling all that? And why aren't we, you know what I mean? Like it's just
annoying.
Even the coaching just seems so disjointed as well,
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that you mentioned there is that we're constantly trying to accommodate Nurse because people just have trouble playing with Nurse. They just don't see that maybe Nurse is the problem. Like, you're a $10 million defenseman, make it work with some of these guys, right? But he doesn't. We got to keep on shuffling people for him, right?
I'm laughing because last night after the game, Brendan, I can't remember what you said, but it was exactly along the lines of what you're saying, but he put it so nicely. Nurse has made all of his partners worse or something like that, right?
They've done. I saw a blog post where somebody did a statistical deep dive, and then they said defensive player with the Oilers with Nurse or without Nurse, and they looked at goals against allowed and goals scored while on the ice and grade A chances. And basically every player that Darnell Nurse has ever played with as a member of the Edmonton Oilers, as his defensive partner, he has made worse. Their baselines go down with them and they go up without him. And the only player that bucked that trend a little bit was Troy Stecher, who's no longer with the Edmonton Oilers.
And Stecher was kind of like a stay-at-home kind of a defender, which is what Nurse needs to be. But for some reason, he thinks he's a second coming of Bobby Orr most nights when he's trying to rush end-to-end and give the puck away, right?
Well, the analysis that the Cult did, they were saying that Nurse tends to thrive with a puck mover because then he can sort of settle in. So a guy like Wallman, a guy like Broberg in the finals against Florida that year, they come in and they sort of stabilize him. And one of the things that they felt that Stecher was doing well last year is he was moving the puck quickly and they were getting out of their zones. One thing that I've noticed that they were doing a little bit more of last night that they just didn't seem like they were doing is they were not taking advantage of their speed. They got a decent amount of speed on the back end, but they're not moving their feet to come out of the zone. I saw a bit more of that yesterday. I think they were talking about that amongst each other. So I saw a little bit of that. But then, I mean, oh my God, the wheels just came off like literally within seconds of their tying goal, right? Everything just fell apart right after that.
I want to just go back to Darnell Nurse for a second. And I think here's the analysis that everyone misses. Darnell Nurse needs one kind of defensive partner in the bottom 20 feet of the ice and a completely different type of defensive partner in the other 180 feet of the ice to be successful. And that's why no one's been successful with them. You put one player out there who can help him skate up the ice, make a pass, cover for him as he's moving. That's one kind of player. But he needs a completely different buddy system in the 20 feet around his own net. And that's why Darnell's never really been able to, get it figured out at the NHL level. He's been pretty good at times, but the Oilers, if they're ever going to be a championship team,
so what you're saying is he needs a guy in the defensive zone who gets rid of the puck right away out of the defensive zone, and then you need a guy in the offensive zone who keeps it in the offensive zone, so Nurse is safe.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm starting to debate whether they should take Bouchard off the power play and just put Nurse out there without a defensive partner. That would protect him entirely from having the wrong defensive partner out there. Just keep isolated with 4 forwards, and it'll be fine. Now, that's
what do you guys think about there's a small section on Twitter that's been for the last 3 years talking about how Nurse would be a great third line winger and he'd be crazy on the forecheck. Do you think they Jason Strudwick him and throw him up front?
I'm willing to try anything, man. Just anything. We just need better defensive core, and I don't know what it is. It may be the lazy tendencies of Nurse and the giveaways of Bouchard that everybody else, because these guys are supposed to be the leaders at the back end outside of
I just came up with this. This is tongue in cheek, but how about we swap Nurse and Frederick?
I was just going to think the same thing.
Sure.
Frederick is
try that.
Frederick is not helping you win. Here's a guy that's played 21 games in the regular season this year for the Oilers, right? I think 1 or 2 last year in the regular season. In that time, he's got 1 goal.
He didn't play in the regular season, did he? Oh, he did, and then he got hurt and he left, right?
So far, by my math, he's got 1 goal for a total of 1 point in all of his NHL regular season games with the Oilers. Now, that's pretty despicable for a guy was playing with Connor McDavid for the first half dozen games of the year. It's also even worse when you put a -8 rating next to that guy. So I would feel very comfortable, bringing up Ogie Oglethorpe or whoever is going to be your 12th forward to just intimidate the other team and having that guy score 1 or 2 points a year and be -8, because you're not going to have to pay him that much and you're going to get the role that you need when the game needs it. But Frederick's not doing anything. He's not throwing the body. He got into a fight one time. That's great. But it's not going to happen consistently. He's not intimidating anybody on the other team. He's not annoying anybody on the other team. He's not a threat to score. He's not a threat to distribute. And if he's hurt, if that high ankle injury is the reason that he's hurt, then put him on the LTIR. Just He's not helping your team win. In fact, he's probably hurting your team whenever he's out there. Just put him in the press box. Rogers has a very nice one. He'll be very up there, okay? And just let somebody else take the spot. If it's Darnell Nurse, roll the experiment, because at this point, it's not going to be any worse. That's how I see it.
This is what it comes down to is, again, and we've talked about the coaching, but the management and the coaching needs to kind of like, I said this the previous time, it's almost when it comes to the matters of, like, for example, goaltending, it seems to me, I mean, it feels like it. I'm sure it's not, but it feels like almost like the management is trolling the fan base. Like, we know better than you. Like, I don't care how bad it gets. We know better than you. We're going to stick to what we have, and this is how it's going to be. The fans keep on, like, saying this.
That was Kevin Lowe's famous press conference in, like, 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you'd think that would change with the new guys coming in and stuff like that, but that's exactly what it feels like. Sure, it's difficult to make the trades. Sure, it's hard to find that trading partner and all of that, but you're getting paid really, really well to make something like that happen. And if you make a mistake, like a Frederick, for example, or whoever, don't just push that narrative to try and make it seem right. If it's not working, it's going to cost you another year of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. For heaven's sake, man, bench the guy, put him away, buy him out, whatever it takes, go get it done. Because again, it's become unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable.
If you buy him out, there goes that McDavid discount right there, right? I think that I didn't listen to this, but I heard that they'd interviewed Bowman. I think he was talking to Stauffer or something, and he said that he was relatively okay with the goaltending. He feels like Skinner's been fine. And it's been the defense that's been the issue this year. And I mean,
so he's got 1 of 2 problems. He's either a terrible analyst of talent, or he's a terrible liar, because none of us believe and none of us think that the goaltending is actually good.
Well,
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like, how does somebody miss on virtually everything except for the last ditched? Like, let's analyze this so far. The only thing that's worked out from the off-season moves has been Roslovic.
Well, that wasn't a season move. That was an in-season move. That happened in game one.
Yeah, that happened like in the middle of game one in the first intermission, right?
Well, the off-season was a complete failure.
So I mean, but how is that even possible? Like, do we consider Frederick an off-season move? I guess they signed him in the off-season. Like,
Mangiapane's bit was good for a couple of weeks, then he's kind of trailed off. You know, Lazar
he played with a little bit of passion. Again, where's the consistency though? It's a shift here, right?
Thomas hasn't shown much. Howard is not even playing in the NHL.
I thought Howard was better than Tomasek, for example, but you know he had to go down because they didn't want to lose, I guess, Tomasek in a waiver or whatever, right? But I do think that the wrong players are being sent out. Howard was actually playing half decent, and I know it's
I don't know about that. I mean, the only thing that you noticed is he does have a high end shot, but he was definitely, in my opinion, he was tapering off a little bit. I don't think he was, like, in my opinion, Tomasek has been probably the most effective of the bunch. He just hasn't been able to finish. You know, but I mean, like, you need to be able to finish, right?
Yeah.
And the Oilers don't have time for half decent. They don't have time to have a half decent 2/3 of their forward group going right now. You need to be decent or better. That's the standard. So if you're kind of going along and getting a couple of goals every 20 nights, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, a goal every 21 games.
There's a $10 million anchor named Darnell Nurse that's going to prevent you from bringing half decent. That's unfortunate, but that's what it is, right? Or you can say whatever you want about Bouchard. Somebody else would have paid him that, but I don't think anybody in their right mind now would take a Darnell Nurse at $9.5 million. And
well,
the fact that you give him that plus and no moves, you can't even move the guy is worse. And then he's best friends with McDavid. So, I mean, this team is digging its own grave. That's the way I see it, right?
I'll add one into you. Who's going to give him $9 million? Because Pat Verbeek was handing out some pretty juicy contracts earlier this year. He's the one GM who might
there was a market for Nurse, right? We had the opportunity of giving him to Chicago 1-for-1 for Seth Jones. Right?
Yeah, but he wouldn't go. He's not going to waive. We've given that ironclad of a contract.
The deal was on the table, but I think the
Oilers. Before you mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, who would have made that trade? I would have made that trade. I'll be honest with you, I would have.
Well, I'd love for us to find some money to get some players that actually are difference makers. I think that we absolutely fluked out in getting Roslovic, which has been a tremendous. Imagine the team without the guy. He's had like 3 overtime winners. He's scoring at absolute critical times in the game. He's the one guy that's actually pulling this team forward most nights.
I'll put about 6 points in the standings on Roslovic's shoulders right now.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Those are the 3 overtime winners alone, right? But I mean, Mangiapane just evaporated. I don't think Tomasek's been anything special. I mean, bottom 6 kind of guy. Okay, fine, but we need some muscle in the bottom 6. I'm glad
that's the thing, right? Is of the underwhelming bunch. You don't want to be the best of the worst, right? What's so great about being the best of the worst? And it's not really saying much. But if you compare Tomasek to Frederick, Noah Felp got hurt last night, by the way. I don't think he returned, right?
I didn't know.
But even a guy like Felp, right? He's been in and out of the lineup. I don't know how much of that is confidence. I don't know how much of that is trying to get used to the 82 game grind. And that's another thing that we need to take into account. These guys are not used to playing this amount of games, but also this amount of games in this amount of time, right? We've played the most games in the NHL. Our schedule is going to ease up a little bit once this road trip is over. The second half of the season, it's going to be a bit more favorable in terms of travel. I mean, how much do we chalk up to that? Is that something that we as regular fans are not taking into account?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's got something to do with it.
Let's just say the schedule difficulty and travel element of it slightly disfavors the Oilers. Slightly. How much of a difference? It's not going to make an impact on the calendar and in the standings of like 6 or 8 points. Like, yeah, you maybe get 1 or 2 more scheduled losses in there than you should have compared to, some Eastern time zone team that has an easier schedule.
Yeah,
But
you shouldn't lose to Buffalo 5-1 on how many days rest? When was their last game?
they played on Saturday, right?
We played on Saturday. They beat Carolina on Saturday in overtime, right?
Yeah.
Previous game to that was
The night before
Thursday,
that,
I
Friday.
think it was against Philly, right?
Back-to-backs there, right? You have a back-to-back between Philadelphia and Columbus, and you get a day off and travel.
No, Carolina.
Get a day off and travel, and you play a road game. That's a long road trip, but at this stage, it's not like that game last night was tired legs on the tail end of a back-to-back.
Oh, no.
And they didn't look like they had it going the entire game. And I've just seen so many games where I look up at the shot clock and we're halfway through the game and the Oilers have like 7 or 8 shots on net.
Well, you know what? You guys are on something there, right? So let's just say that the team is a little bit tired. I mean, every team, I remember back in the day when, you have your top guys tired. You have your defensive core tired. And then, you know what? Somebody else steps up, either from the bottom 6 or the goalie. Somebody steps up and they steal a game or they become – this team is devoid of that. If it's not McDavid, if it's not Draisaitl and Roslovic lately, it's nobody.
Yeah.
It's nobody. You don't have anybody you can fall back on and say, hey, this guy stepped it up today.
But how much of that? How much of that again is deployment? We've seen the Boston Bruins lose 7 in a row. We've seen a few of these other teams lose 7 in a row. But when they're losing 7 in a row, they're actually playing their Matthew Savoys and Noah Phelps and David Tomasics in these crucial situations. Win, lose, draw, up, down, like tied, trying to like cut the gap from like 5-1 to 5-2. There's always 2 or 3 of the same people that are on the ice as forwards. It's usually 18 and it's always 29 and it's always 97. Yeah. Doesn't matter if 22 or 28 or somebody else is having a crazy night, they're not getting that opportunity, right?
Yeah, that goes back to
we had look at Victor Arvidsson. He's out in Boston and he's on pace for 25 goals. Look at Corey. I mean, Corey Perry did it over here as well. But how are these other guys going somewhere else, and how are they able to contribute? I mean, Arvidsson was horrible with the first 6 games, but he didn't move up and down the lineup, right? He was given the same opportunities over and over until he started to he got a lucky one and then he went on a streak, right?
You know what I think?
I saw that game where he got that lucky one.
We're again kind of dismissing the human element, but if you've ever done anything really, really hard in your life, and I'll just use, the mountain climbing example, you get all the way to the top and maybe you miss your target, right? Something happens, you get hurt, it didn't work out, but the effort was there. And then you have to start from the bottom all over again. And you get all the way back up to the top, and again, you miss your target.
Yeah.
What a grind that must be, emotionally, mentally. You're a professional, so yeah, you're going to pick it up and you're getting paid to do it, so you're going to put the pieces back together. But it's just a grind. Like, do you really, really think you're going to put in 100% effort against St. Louis on a Wednesday night on the road?
Well, if you know that that's what it's going to take for you to get there, yeah, you will.
Well, yeah, in theory, but
that's the reason. That's the whole reason why
the brain might want it. Is the body and the spirit really going to do it when you're tired, they're tired, the game's tied in the last minute? It's a question of that 1% difference between you and the other guys.
But Savoy hasn't been through this. Tomasic hasn't been through this. Phelps hasn't been through this.
Yeah.
Where's their youthful vigor? Where is their passion? Where is their willingness to carry us over these St. Louis Blue games and Buffalo Sabre games and whatnot? Isn't that why we injected the youth?
Those guys, that's who they need to have be the spark. I'm excited to see Hyman come back. Obviously, he did well in his first game back and maybe a little less impactful in the second one. But the Oilers need a spark from somewhere. They need a guy who says,
honest question, if you guys have your computers up, where is he on hits on the team? He's already got 11 or 13 hits.
Oh, yeah, he's already up there. 5? Yeah, he's already up there. Yeah. They were talking about that after the first game, that he beat most of the team in one night in terms of hits.
11 hits or something that night. Yeah. 9 or 11 hits.
Yeah. It's good to have him back, but we're missing another key piece in Nuge. And I know he's out for a while, but we underestimate that guy's up and down the ice at both ends, right? He's playing defensive hockey, he's playing offensive, especially when you have a defensive core sleep. You need guys like that, right? And now we need these guys like McDavid and Draisaitl come back, and they're capable of doing it. Draisaitl was talking about the Selke before the season started. Well, start playing like it, man. I watch your guy completely open on the slot, and you're barely moving your stick, and he shoots, and then you look and all disappointed, your body language is poor, and the entire team is watching you. That's not Selke. Like, have you already given up on that? What happened to that? Right?
If I get what you're saying, but if we go back to what Brendan was saying for a second about the human element and just not being able to get up emotionally for this, I mean, maybe this is a write-off year. Maybe we miss the playoffs. Maybe we get a first-round exit.
What about that? Yeah,
these guys go home early and they rejuice and they get super angry. But
yeah,
I hope it doesn't take that to get to, because you're wasting time, right?
Well, then you have to give credit where credit's due with Florida. How did they do it all those years? And even with Tampa, I mean, how many times they went to the finals back-to-back, and they were in the dogfight every year for like 4 or 5 years, right?
Well, I just look at Colorado, right? Colorado didn't feel like they should have lost in that first round. They felt like they got robbed. Edmonton apparently was super pissed off about losing in the finals. Why is Colorado 10-1? And why is Edmonton, wherever the hell Edmonton is, not 10-1, right?
There's so many different reasons, guys. I think also, like you've discussed previously, maybe offline only, there's a lot of change. There's a lot of personnel change. We do miss the Corey Perrys. Connor Browns. There was another guy who was like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. You have basically 2 Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on your team, and now you don't have any of those 2 guys. One to injury, one to trade, right?
You know what though? What you're saying, I would agree to a certain degree, but we had those guys last year and we still sucked. We barely made the playoffs. We were limping in.
On an 18-game winning streak, sir.
Not last year.
Oh yeah, this year before.
But let's take the Oilers roster, as imperfect as it was at the end of the regular season last year, okay? And then I want you to think about how good would that team be if you took away Connor Brown and you took away Corey Perry and you took away Evander Kane and you took away Arvidsson and you replaced them with some replacement level players. How confident would you be in that group? And I think the answer is I would be pretty concerned. So how are the Oilers doing right now compared to, I would be pretty concerned about that group. It's actually okay. They've got some wins. They were not a picture of a perfect regular season team last year. And I think we all have to be honest, their forward group this year is worse than last year.
I get what you guys are saying, but you can go back and you can, we were thrilled to get rid of Warren Fogle and Ryan McLeod and whoever else, we felt like underperformed in the 2024 run. You can go all the way back to the year that Jordan Eberle did not perform in the second round versus Dallas or whatever, or Anaheim or whatever in 2016, 2017, whatever it was. And then we just run them out of town, right? Sure. But my point is, we look back and we're like, we wish we had that guy. In 2023, 2024, Connor Brown was Trent Frederick, right? And then it took him a year to get back, and he had a decent year the next year. But now we're looking back and we're like, okay, we have these guys, we missed those guys. But when we had those guys, we were like, these guys suck. So
for the record, I don't think we were. I think we did okay with one of the trades in McLeod, but Fogle, he just outpriced himself. We didn't have room for him. I don't think I was excited that he's leaving. It was really good for us, right?
Well, I mean, they brought in guys to replace them. They brought in Victor Arvidsson essentially.
Yeah.
Then they gave Victor Arvidsson Fogel's money, right? Because they got paid pretty much the same. My point with all this is we didn't see light at the end of the tunnel. You guys, again, if you're in front of your computer, 21 games into 2024, 2025 versus 21 games into 2025, 2026, what's the record at?
We were very similar. I actually looked at this before.
I think we're better this year than we were last year.
Likely, yeah. It's possible, but the expectations were
I know
higher.
we were better this year than we were in 2023, 2024, right?
But here's the thing about what you're saying. At this time, at the, let's say, end of November, the Oilers were coming from a bad start and trending in a good direction, right? But this year, it wasn't as bad, but it's never been trending positive. They've never got that momentum going. They haven't even won three games in a row at any stretch this season.
Not yet, right? That's the thing. We're 21 games in. We did not see the light at the end of the tunnel in 23-24. Brendan, we weren't really chatting in great detail back then, but Ahmed, I know you and I were, and we did not see anything. We were sitting here doing the exact same thing, except we didn't have the record button, right?
Yeah, they only had 15 points after 20 games last year, so we are considerably better this year at 20 points. So we're 5 points ahead of last year.
My point is, we did not. We're fans, right? There might be some things that objectively, if we look at, are trending in a positive direction. As stealing words from McTavish, we look visually worse, right? Not visually better. But I guess we are visually better than we were last year, right? But if we take into account, there's got to be some positives. I guess what I'm saying is, the last 2 years that we went on these runs, we never saw it come, right? Did you think, after being down 2-0 against LA, aside from you being a positive fan and saying, hey, you know what, we're going to turn this around, did you really believe that we're going to turn it around and go on a heater like we did?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think we did.
You didn't. I know you didn't.
I know I didn't.
What about when we were down 3-0 to Florida?
No,
Right?
I thought that was over. For sure, that was over.
I just wanted to see them win one game in the Stanley Cup final by that point. Like, just one
I
game.
was pissed off because I felt like we should have been up 2-1, possibly 3-0 in that series.
Yeah, there was a couple of games that just didn't go our way, but we should have won that. I don't want to even talk about it. It hurts. It hurts.
Well, let's kind of wrap up that thought, because they do have a game against Florida coming up later on this week. So we have a schedule that includes the Washington Capitals, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Florida Panthers before returning home to play against Dallas. Good luck.
Yeah. It's going to be either really good or it's going to be really bad. Well, I'm taking bets. Who's going to say really good or really bad?
I'm not sure what's going to happen outcome-wise, but I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see some passion, and I want to see some battle. Like, I don't mind if we don't win tomorrow, but I want to see us show up. I don't want another performance like Buffalo and like 40% of the Carolina game, right? Horrendous.
Yep. Yeah.
I really miss the teams from back in the day, the late 90s and the early 2000s. You knew that you were going to get effort. When you threw Marchand, Morrow, and Greer on the ice, you knew they were going to get some turnovers and they were going to switch the momentum, and we'd take it to the play. We may not have won that game, but it was going to be exciting, and you're going to feel like, you worked hard. That's what I want to see, right?
Well, let's see what happens this week. I think on that thought, we should probably wrap this up. We've reached our end of the pod here, and the predictions for this week. Do you guys want to take a quick jab at what they're going to end up in the next, by the end of this road trip, their 7-game road trip?
I think they're going to pick up in those 3 road games, then the game back at home against Dallas. I think they're going to pick up 3 points out of those 4 games. I'm not saying if they're going to be overtime points, but they'll get, 3 points. I won't copy 3 points out of those 4 games. That's my prediction.
What about you, Ahmed?
I'm kind of with Brandon on this one, man. I wish I had a little bit more confidence in the way things are going right now, and unless something really drastic happens, I'd say about 3 points is right.
You guys realize we're 4 games into this trip, right? And
Yeah.
we're 2-2. We're 2-2.
With a miracle 2 points included in that Philadelphia game.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
We finally started to get some bounces.
Yeah,
right?
but
Finally
we
started to
only
see
remember them for the bad performances, because the good performances are so rare and it's so sporadic. What you remember the team for is how weak and how easily they get scored on and how deflated they get when the goal goes in.
I agree. But I'm just saying we're 2-2, and I think in the next, the next 4 games, I think we're going to probably see another 2-2. I think we're going to pick up 4 points, 4 or 5 points.
500's better than what I predicted. Awesome, guys. Well, let's wrap it up, and I guess we'll see you guys in about a week's time, and we can discuss the what happened.
So where are we at? So by the time we hit next Tuesday, we're going to have Washington on this Wednesday. We're going to have Florida on Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, do they play on Monday?
They play on the 22nd against Florida, and then they play on the 25th against Dallas.
So that'll be 25th is when we will resume, right in the afternoon there.
Yeah.
right, let's see what happens. There'll be 3 games. Let's see what happens.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.